I got the job through my cousin Eddie in Tucson. He knew a guy who knew a guy. And before I could ask too many questions, I was driving out to the middle of nowhere with a key to some kind of old scientific research facility and a contract that paid better than anything I'd seen in 3 years of looking. The Clearwater Communications Desert Tower sat 40 miles east of nowhere, Arizona. Just me, the desert, and a steel lattice reaching up into the sky like some kind of prayer. The company rep, a thin man in a rumpled suit who wouldn't give me his real name, met me at the base on my first day. Simple job, he said, mopping sweat from his forehead. Check the equipment twice daily, log any irregularities, keep the generator fueled. Questions? I had plenty, but he was already walking back to his sedan. Wait, I called after him. What about the red signal? He stopped, turned around slow, like he was hoping I hadn't said what I just said. What about it? His expression turned agitated. The contract mentioned something about never answering when it pulses red. What's that mean? He was quiet for a long moment, looking up at the tower. Then he pulled out a handkerchief and wiped his face again, though the sweat had already dried. The equipment up there, it's sensitive, picks up all kinds of interference. Sometimes the red light comes on. Just ignore it. If you hear anything coming through it, anything, don't respond. Don't even listen if you can help it. I had to ask, what kind of sounds? But he was already getting in his car. Twice daily checks, he called through the window. That's all. The first 2 weeks were easy enough. The desert had its own rhythm, hot and still during the day, cold and restless at night. I'd grown up in Phoenix, so the heat didn't bother me much. The isolation was actually peaceful after years of city noise. Just me, the tower, and the endless sky. The equipment was older than I'd expected, most of it from the 80s, maybe early 90s. Banks of radio gear, satellite uplinks, computers that hummed and clicked like insects. Everything worked fine, though. Signal strength was strong, power consumption steady. I filled out my logs and radioed my reports to a dispatcher who never said more than, "Roger," or "Copy that." The red light first came on during my 3rd week. I was doing the evening check when I noticed it, a steady red pulse on the main communications panel. My heart jumped a little, remembering the warning, but nothing else seemed wrong. All the other indicators were green. All of the equipment was still operating normally. Then I heard it. At first, it sounded like static, white noise bleeding through the speakers, but after a few seconds I could make out something underneath. A voice, maybe, or voices, too distant and garbled to understand. I reached for the radio microphone, then stopped. Never answer the signal when it pulses red. The voices got clearer. I could almost make out words. Someone was trying to communicate, and they sounded urgent, desperate even, like they needed help. I kept my hand on the microphone for a full minute, just listening. The red light pulsed faster. The voices grew more distinct. I thought I heard someone say please and help us and something that might have been coordinates. Then, as suddenly as it started, everything went quiet. The red light blinked off. The speakers returned to their normal, low hum. I wrote it up in my log. Red signal activated for approximately 5 minutes. No response given per protocol. The next morning, I called the number on my contract. The same thin man answered. "I need to know what that red signal is," I said. "Someone was trying to communicate last night. They sounded like they needed help." "You didn't respond, did you?" he asked. "No, but..." He cut me off. "Good. That's good. Listen, son, that equipment picks up all kinds of transmissions like old radio shows, ham radio operators, and sometimes even signals bouncing off the atmosphere from decades ago. It's not real-time communication. It's just echoes." I shook my head in disbelief. It sounded real-time to me. The man snapped back. "It's not. Trust me on this. Just keep doing your job." But I couldn't stop thinking about those voices, the urgency in them. What if someone really was in trouble? What if they were trying to reach help and I was the only one who could hear them? The red signal came on again 3 nights later. This time I was ready. I had a notebook and pen, and I listened carefully. The voices were clearer now. I could make out 3 distinct speakers, 2 men and a woman. They were discussing coordinates, talking about running low on supplies, mentioning something about the others following them. "Day 7, one of the men said. Still no response from base. "Beginning to think we're on our own out here." There was desperation in his voice. Keep trying, the woman replied. Someone's got to be listening. I wrote down everything I could catch. When the signal cut out, I stared at my notes for a long time. These people were in trouble, real trouble, and they were counting on someone to hear them. The next day, I drove into town and used the library computer to research the coordinates they'd mentioned. They pointed to a location about 60 miles northwest of my position, in a particularly remote section of desert. I cross-referenced the area with missing persons reports, plane crashes, anything that might explain what I was hearing. I found it in a newspaper archive from 1987. 3 researchers from the University of Arizona, Dr. Jennifer Chang, Dr. Michael Rodriguez, and graduate student James Palmer, had disappeared while conducting geological surveys in the desert. Their vehicle had been found abandoned, but no trace of the researchers themselves. The search had been called off after 2 weeks. The names matched the voices I'd been hearing. I went back to the tower that night with my heart hammering. When the red light came on, I grabbed the microphone before I could talk myself out of it. Jennifer? Michael? This is Desert Tower Station. Do you copy? It only took a few seconds to receive a response. The voice that came through the speakers was excited and desperate. Hello? Is someone there? This is Dr. Jennifer Chang, University of Arizona Geological Survey Team. We're stranded and running low on water. Our position is... She rattled off the same coordinates I'd researched, the ones that led to empty desert. Jennifer, what's the date? I said as clearly as possible. June 15th, 1987. Why? Look, we need help. There's something out here. Something that's been following us. We can't stay in one place for long. My blood went cold. It was June 2019. These people had been missing for 32 years. What's following you? Static filled the channel for a moment. Then Michael's voice. We're not sure. We first noticed it 3 days ago. Shadows moving wrong, sounds that don't match anything we know, and the ground moves sometimes, like there's something underneath. The transmission had cut out a few times, but I was able to make out enough of it. Where are you right now? I didn't know how, but maybe I could send some kind of help. We found a cave system about 2 miles east of our last coordinates. We're hiding in one of the deeper chambers. But it knows we're here. We can hear it moving around outside, scratching at the rocks. Calling to us, Jennifer reported. Calling to you how? Jennifer whispered into the mic. In our own voices. It mimics us. The signal started to fade. I could hear something else in the background now, a sound like fingernails on stone, getting closer to their position. It's coming. We have to move deeper, James said, his voice tight with fear. Wait, I called into the radio. I know where you are. I can send help. But the red light had already gone out. I spent the rest of the night researching the cave systems in that area. There were several, most of them unmapped. Some were deep enough to shelter in, but they were also dangerous. Easy to get lost in, prone to flash flooding, home to desert wildlife that didn't appreciate visitors. The next morning, against every instinct I had, I drove out to the coordinates. The desert looked exactly like every other patch of desert I'd ever seen. Scrub brush, rocks, endless empty sky. But when I got out of my truck, something felt wrong. The silence was too complete. No insects, no birds, no wind. Even the heat seemed muted, like it was being absorbed by something. I found the cave system about where Jennifer had described. The opening was just a crack in the rocks, barely wide enough for a person to squeeze through. I called out, but got no answer, not even an echo. I went back to the tower and waited for the red signal. It came on just after midnight. This time, the voices were different. Panicked. It's in the caves with us, Jennifer gasped. It's been mimicking our voices, calling to us from different passages. We split up to find another way out, but now we can't tell which voices are real and which are it. I didn't hesitate. Jennifer, this is Desert Tower. Where are you now? Crackling came through the speaker before Jennifer spoke. I've been following what I thought was Michael's voice for hours, but when I got close enough to see, it was just darkness, shaped like Michael, but made of darkness. Her desperation and fear were growing. You need to get out of there, I barked into the microphone. We can't. Every passage we try leads deeper, and it's getting smarter. A few minutes ago, I heard my own voice calling to me from behind. Perfect imitation. The signal was breaking up, but I could still hear her breathing, rapid and shallow. The worst part, she continued, is that I think we've been down here longer than we realized. My watch stopped working, but when I sleep, I dream of the surface, of people searching for us, of years passing, of everyone giving up and forgetting. Static filled the channel, then cleared. I don't think we're going to make it out, she said quietly. But if someone is listening, don't come looking for us. Don't come to the caves. It's waiting for that. It wants. The transmission stopped for a second. Oh, Christ! It's here! It's found me! The signal cut out. Jennifer? I tried calling back, but got nothing. The red light stayed off for the rest of the night. Over the next few days, I couldn't stop thinking about what I'd heard. 3 people, lost in the desert 32 years ago, somehow still alive and calling for help. Or maybe not alive. Maybe something else entirely. I called the thin man again. You answered it, didn't you? He said before I could even speak. They needed help. I tried to explain, but he stopped me. They're dead. Have been for over 30 years. What you heard wasn't them. Then what was it? Something that's very good at lying, very good at using voices, very good at making people want to help. He must have thought that was enough of an explanation, but I wasn't buying it. How many maintenance workers do you think we've hired for that tower over the years? He asked. How many of them do you think followed the protocol and never answered the red signal? My mouth went dry. How many? You're number 17. The others, well, let's just say they were more helpful than they should have been. I quit the next day, drove straight back to Phoenix, and never looked back. But sometimes, late at night, I still hear Jennifer's voice in my head. Still wonder if maybe, just maybe, they really did need help. And sometimes, when I'm driving through the desert and my radio picks up static, I think I hear my own voice calling back to me from the dark places underground, telling me to come home, telling me how much I missed. I never answer. But I think about it. Every time I think about it a little longer,